From having a bunch of lore-based references like the Emerald Enclave or the Harpers, to the sheer hilarity that ensues because of Edgin and the rest of the gang, there are tons of reasons why the D&D movie turned out a lot better than fans expected. After all, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves has already made more than $71.5 million at the global box office. You know how it is when a beloved story gets turned into a movie. The expectations are through the roof. Well, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves is no exception. And let me tell you, those shoes were big. But hold on to your dice, because this epic fantasy flick, directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, made bank in its opening weekend. It raked in $38.5 million domestically and $33 million internationally. That's 83% of its planned rollout, folks.
We worked with the Wizards of the Coast, who control the brand of D&D for a lot of this, and they were super helpful in helping us with the lore. We had advisors, and so everything that's in there, if you're a big fan of D&D, you'll recognize that it has truth in the game.
The film played particularly well in Canada, the Western US, and Midwest, and the fan preview screenings only added to the hype. Though I've talked about how the movie is breaking the game-to-film curse and raking in the dough, but what do the fans have to say? Well, it seems that critics and audiences alike are loving it. In fact, most fans are blown away by how good it is. This film captures the heart and soul of the game, following a charming thief and his crew on an epic quest for treasure, and audiences are here for it. Don't believe me? Check out its certified fresh status on Rotten Tomatoes with a whopping 93% approval rating from audiences and an overall 91% on the tomato meter. That's what I call a hit, baby. Now, I know some of you might be wondering about that hefty $150 million budget, but fear not. With a star-studded cast, including Chris Pine, Regé-Jean Page, and Michelle Rodriguez, this film has got what it takes to keep audiences coming back for more.
We need a dungeon master. You know, like nobody
And as
here,
you've noticed,
no,
we like
none
the
of us.
directors sitting right over
I
there.
mean, that would be amazing if Jarnathan, the two-headed, director dragon, would come back. I would love that. I think it would be cool.
Plus, with the upcoming spring holidays and the film's confident opening weekend, we could be looking at a big win here, folks. If Honor Among Thieves can keep this up, it could be the game adaptation all fans have been waiting for. And a big reason why is that it stands out from other video game adaptations. The movie does this by accurately capturing the energy of the real game. It's not just the impressive box office numbers, it's the fact that the movie actually nails the spirit of what D&D is all about. As any D&D player knows, the game is all about creating your own stories and having a blast with your friends. And that's exactly what this film does. With a mix of action, humor, and fantasy, Honor Among Thieves manages to capture the essence of the game and bring it to life on the big screen. It's like watching a real D&D campaign unfold right before your eyes. So, if you're a fan of the game, or just looking for a fun adventure, this movie is definitely worth checking out. Plus, that's the thing about Dungeons & Dragons. It's not just about the rules and the lore, it's about the people you play with. It's about the friendships you build, the memories you create, and the fun you have. And let's just say, this film is filled with moments like that. Honor Among Thieves perfectly captures that sense of camaraderie and lightheartedness that makes D&D so special. Watching the characters bicker and banter as they embark on their epic quest feels like sitting in on a real game session with your own group of friends. The chemistry between the actors is fantastic, and it's clear that they had a blast bringing these characters to life. The movie is a love letter to the game that inspired it, so it's no surprise fans are all on board with it, especially because the film makes plenty of room for goofiness and charm. In the movie, the characters are just as silly and fallible as the player characters in a real D&D game. You see, in D&D, there is no set script. You just have to improvise and roll with the punches. Chris Pine's character, Edgin the Bard, is a perfect example of this.
Feel good about a project, feel good that it's being seen, feel good that it's like, it's saying nice things about family and working together and
His character background is quickly introduced, and we see him in action, pushing a humanoid bird out of a window for no good reason other than to escape. It's the type of ridiculousness that we love to see in D&D games, and the film does a great job of capturing it. As Edgin and his party come up with their plans, they constantly have to scrap them for being too unrealistic. But as any D&D player knows, the most absurd plans can sometimes be the most successful. And throughout it all, the characters are able to be casual and goofy in a way that feels true to life. But that doesn't mean it's all played for laughs, because even the silly little moments feel real. This specific attention to detail makes Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves a true masterpiece. It's not just about the big battles and epic moments. It's about the little things, like paladins being rule sticklers and random failures that make the game so unpredictable. In fact, even the missteps in the film feel like they could have happened in the real game. So when the characters fail at something seemingly trivial, it only adds to the authenticity of the movie. It almost feels like you're playing a campaign yourself, as you see these characters make choices and mistakes that you as a player could make yourself. In any other film, getting caught while trying to sneak around might seem like lazy writing, but in the world of D&D, it's just a regular Tuesday. It's all about the luck of the dice, and sometimes those dice just aren't in your favor. Honor Among Thieves captures all the hilarity and hijinks of a real D&D game and amplifies it on the silver screen, giving fans the ultimate movie experience they've been waiting for. And speaking of the game mechanics, it's not just about the funny and silly moments, but also the nitty-gritty details that make D&D a true tabletop RPG gem. And for those hardcore nerds out there, don't worry, it's game accurate. Collaborative storytelling and numerical game mechanics come together to create an immersive experience that is both natural and challenging. For hardcore players, there are plenty of Easter eggs and story beats that feel straight out of the player's handbook. The characters' abilities are notably accurate to their game counterparts, and seeing them in action is like reliving your own home game. From a paladin's divine smite to a sorcerer's somatic gestures, the film takes the game mechanics seriously and incorporates them into the story in a way that feels satisfying for any D&D fan. By now you've seen that Dungeons & Dragons is not just a game, it's a culture. And one of the most important aspects of that culture is the attention to detail that the creators put into every aspect of the game, especially the lore and world building, which is perfectly built upon in this film. Fans of the Forgotten Realms setting will be thrilled to see how accurate the film is to the world they know so well, as we follow the characters on their journey along the Sword Coast. Fans can see familiar locations and creatures that transport us directly into the heart of the game, and it's not just surface level references either. The film pays careful attention to the organizations and groups that have deep roots in the lore, like the Harpers and the Emerald Enclave. All of this contributes to a masterful world building that brings the game to life in a whole new way. But those are all the reasons why the Dungeons & Dragons movie was way better than fans expected.